What a weekend. What a sports weekend. I mean, I tell you, I can't get over that World Cup. Man, that Patriots loss. Oh, let's get to that. Let's get to our NFL rundown. That's right. Week 15, NFL rundown. You know how we do it. And every Monday, our Week 15, every Monday, our NFL rundown. Only this week is our Week 15 rundown. We're not going to get to next week and do Week 15 because that's going to be Week 16. Every week, our NFL rundown is brought to us by Brunt Insurance and Financial Services. I've been using Brunt Insurance for about 10 years now to make sure that I'm protected. I get my homeowner's insurance from them. From Pensacola to the Keys and beyond, Brunt Insurance and Financial Services delivers comprehensive insurance and financial solutions tailored to your needs. Since 2013, they specialize in home, auto, life insurance. Look, you can find them online, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at Brunt Insurance. Like I told you, I've been using Greg Brunt and his team for over 10 years now, all right? The market's confusing out there. Let Brunt Insurance sort it all out for you. His fully licensed staff, they know the area, all right? Now, they got 3 locations in South, Southeast, and Central Florida. So when you get them on the phone, 954-589-2204, you make sure you tell them exactly where they are. They know whatever area you're in here in Florida, so they'll wind up getting the agents in the location that is best for you. If you're looking for affordable care that offers the best coverage for, let's say, your car, your motorcycle, maybe even your boat, Brunt Insurance, you made the right call. Their team has the expertise and experience to find the right coverage for you. Comprehensive policies for trailers and motorhomes. Let Brunt Insurance, they'll sift through the market. They'll make sure you get the right coverage and make sure that you're covered. I told you, I get my homeowner's insurance from Brunt Insurance for a decade now. 954-589-2204. BruntInsurance.com, 954-589-2204. Let's start out our NFL rundown with Saturday's games. So, you had an historic collapse. Not engineered, but I guess what would be the opposite of engineered? By Matt Ryan. So the Colts are up 33-0 at halftime. The Vikings come all the way back. A touchdown, a 2-point conversion, and that they would get a chance to win it with a field goal.
Snap spot. Joseph, right-footed kick. It is good! And the Minnesota Vikings have completed the greatest comeback in the history of the National Football League. From 33 down, they beat the Indianapolis Colts.
So there you have it as the Vikings come all the way back. Largest comeback in NFL history, 39-36. So now Matt Ryan has been the quarterback of the team that blew the largest lead in the Super Bowl, 28-3. And he's been the quarterback of the team that has blown the largest lead in an NFL game, 33-0. Kirk Cousins, 34 for 54, 460 yards, 4 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. He was terrible in the first half. Dalvin Cook, 17 rushes for 95 yards, 4 catches for 95 yards, and the touchdown that would wind up tying the game. The Vikings, 11-3. They are still second in the NFC. The Colts dropped to 4-9-1. Jeff Saturday won his first game as coach. He can't win again. It's ridiculous. You can't just come in off the street. Hey, the leader of men. You can't just come in off the street and be a head coach in the NFL. Get the hell out of here. The Browns, a 13-3 win. They do the Dolphins a solid. A 13-3 win over the Ravens. Terrible game. There's no way you wanted to watch that. Deshaun Watson, 18 for 28, 161 yards, a touchdown, no massages. Nick Chubb, 21 rushes for 99 yards. The Browns improved to 6-8. They're kind of in the playoff pick. They're kind of in the hunt. And the Ravens, they dropped to 9-5. They are now a wild card team. The Bengals are now going to win that division. The Eagles, a 25-20 win over the Chicago Bears. They're now 13-1, number 1 in the NFC. The Bears dropped to 3-11. Jalen Hurts, I think he's the MVP frontrunner, but he did not have a good statistic game. 22 for 37, 315 yards, 2 interceptions. He did rush for 61 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground. Justin Fields, 14-21, 152 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had 95 yards rushing. And A.J. Brown, by the way, 9 catches for 181 yards. Huge for the fantasy football. A lot of us are in our fantasy football playoffs now, week 15. A game that no one cares about in the NFC South. The Saints beat the Falcons 21-18. The Saints are 5-9. The Falcons are 5-9. Who the F cares? The Lions beat the Jets. They do the Dolphins a solid 20-17. Both teams are 7-7 now, but going in completely different directions, as the Lions have won 6 of their last 7 games, and the Jets have lost 4 of their last 5 games. Jared Goff was 23 for 38 for 252 yards and a touchdown. Zach Wilson got the start as Mike White is not healthy. 18 for 35, 317 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception. Robert Saleh getting a ton of criticism, very well deserved. The game ended with the Jets missing a 58-yard field goal. There was 1 second remaining when they kicked it, and they had 1 timeout remaining. So do the math there. If you got a timeout left, and you have to kick a 58-yard field goal with the game on the line, you did something wrong with that clock management. Terrible job by Robert Saleh, but we love it as Dolphin fans. So now the Jets, they are dropped out of the playoff picture right now at 7-7. They're a game back of the Dolphins. Moving on, the Steelers, they topped the Panthers 24-16. Pittsburgh, keeping Mike Tomlin's streak alive of no losing seasons. They're now 6-8. They got to win their final 3. The Panthers dropped to 5-9. You had Najee Harris rush for 86 yards and a touchdown. Now, this was a wild NFL Week 15. You had a ton of games that came down to the final play, including the Vikings beating the Colts on that field goal. Another one of those games that came down to the final play. The Jacksonville Jaguars. The game is tied at 34 in overtime. The Jags have come all the way back. They were down 17. The game is now in overtime, tied at 34. Cowboys ball.
This is a 3rd and 3 from their 47. Trips to the right. Elliott now the running back in place of Pollard. Shotgun for Prescott. He drops to throw. Looking, fires middle of the field, and that ball is picked off! It is picked off by Rayshawn Jenkins! He's running it back along the right sideline! That is going to be a touchdown! That is going to be a touchdown! The Jags are going to win it on a Rayshawn Jenkins pick 6! Are you kidding me? How good is
How
that?
about the Jaguars looking like a respectable team? They win 40-34. That's a crushing loss to the Cowboys. The Jags are now 6-8. Cowboys dropped to 10-4. They're a wild card team because Philadelphia is running away with that division. Trevor Lawrence, red hot. 27-42, 318 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Zay Jones, 6 catches for 109 yards and 3 touchdowns. If you're looking for the fantasy football, CeeDee Lamb had 7 catches for 126 yards. The Jaguars stun the Cowboys. Another game that ended on the final play. The Chiefs and Texans, they're in overtime, and the Chiefs with a chance to win it.
McKinnon, the single back. 3 receivers in a triangle on the left side. Mahomes hands it off to McKinnon, trying to dart left. 25-20, downfield block. 10-5, touchdown! Kansas City! Terrific run by Jerick McKinnon to win the game in overtime on a 26-yard run. And the Kansas City Chiefs have won the AFC West for a 7th consecutive year. That's 2nd all-time in National Football League history in division dominance. And they join the 79 Rams in winning the West for a 7th consecutive time on a 26-yard run to end
So
it.
the Chiefs survive 30-24. They improved to 11-3. The Texans dropped to 1-12-1. Patrick Mahomes, 36 of 41. 336 yards, 2 touchdowns. Travis Kelce, 10 catches for 105 yards. The Chiefs are 2nd in the AFC. They do not own the tiebreak with Buffalo. Both teams are 11-3. The Broncos, a game nobody cares about. You got backup quarterbacks galore. They beat the Cardinals 24-15. Both teams are 4-10. Latavius Murray had 24 rushes for 130 yards and a touchdown for the Broncos. Nobody cares. The Raiders, oh my God, you've never seen anything like it. Another game that came down to the final play, all because of the stupidity of the New England Patriots. So the game is tied at 24, all right? The Patriots have the ball. Again, the game is tied at 24. The Patriots aren't losing the game at 24. The game is tied at 24. And here's what ends up being the final play of regulation.
Now on a 3rd and 10, 3 seconds left. Jones will give it to Stevenson. He started to run. He runs it up the middle, hit by Chandler. Jones slips the head across the 45 with a stiff arm. Off the tackle, the 40. He lost the football. And Jacoby Myers picks it up. He circles back and he throws it across the field for Mac Jones. It's picked up by Chandler Jones. He breaks away to the 30. He runs to the 20. He runs to the 10. He runs to the end zone. Unreal. Touchdown. Raiders.
Good night. This might be one of the dumbest teams I've ever seen.
And a victory for Las Vegas.
Love hearing those Patriots broadcasters have to eat it. Love hearing Scott Zolak have to eat it. Love the face mush to Mac Jones. He's buried into the ground. Can you imagine Jimmy Cephalo having to call that final play? You wouldn't have had a clue what happened there. Love everything about that play. The Raiders win 30-24. As dumb a play you're ever going to see. Take the ball, go to overtime. Instead, you got Stevenson who pitches it, and then you got Jacoby Myers who pitched it. If it got to Mac, he tried to throw it back to Mac Jones. What was Mac Jones going to do with it? What was he going to do with it? Other than get murdered by Chandler Jones. But instead, Chandler Jones, he took the ball and he buried Mac Jones into the ground. And that Mac Jones, he sucks. The Raiders improved to 6-8. The Patriots dropped to 7-7. You had Derek Carr, 20 for 38, 231 yards, 3 touchdowns, and interception. Mac Jones is one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. He was 13 of 31 for 112 measly yards. Ramondre Stevenson had 19 carries for 172 and a touchdown. But the Patriots today are a laughingstock. One of the all-time dumbest plays, a play that will live forever, and it's a Bill Belichick coach team that performed the dumbest play in the history of the NFL. I love it so much. I want to play it. I don't want the whole play playing on a loop at my birthday. I want Chandler Jones burying Mac Jones into the turf played on a loop at my birthday. Now that's a party. The Chargers, talk about games coming down to the last play. They kick a field goal with seconds remaining. They beat the Titans 17-14. The Chargers now have jumped the Dolphins due to the tiebreak. They are 8-6. The Titans are 7-7. They still have that 4th spot because they lead the putrid AFC South. But now the Dolphins have dropped to 7th as a result of the Chargers win. Justin Herbert, 28 for 42, 313 yards, 2 interceptions. Derrick Henry had 21 rushes for 104 yards and a touchdown. He had 4 catches for 59 yards. The Bengals come back from 17-0 at halftime to beat the Bucs 34-23. The Bengals are now 10-4. They lead the AFC North. They are 3rd in the AFC. The Bucs dropped to 6-8, but they still lead that putrid NFC South. Right now, they'd be hosting a playoff game. Joe Burrow, so cool. 27 for 39, 200 yards, 4 touchdowns, and interception. Jamar Chase had 7 catches for 60 yards and a touchdown. Tom Brady, 30 for 44, 312 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. And finally, Sunday Night Football. This was a very good game. The Giants beat the Commanders. That's what the Washington team is called this year. The Giants beat the Commanders 20-12. They are now 8-5-1. The Commanders are 7-6-1. Saquon Barkley, 18 rushes for 81 yards and a touchdown, 5 catches for 33 yards. Jahan Dotson, 4 catches for 105 yards and a touchdown for Washington. The Giants are now the 6th spot. Washington is the 7th spot. You have Seattle and Detroit, both a half game back of that final wildcard spot. They're each 7-7. In the AFC, New England and the Jets are both 7-7. They are a game back of Miami and the Chargers for those final 2 wildcard spots. And that right there is your Week 15 NFL Rundown, brought to us by Brunt Insurance. BruntInsurance.com. Make sure you're covered. Your home, your auto, life insurance, all that stuff. 954-589-2204. Wow. What a week it was. What an NFL week. Again, make sure you go to @ZASLOW Show. Poll question for today. Our poll question, you heard right there, the Patriots. Oh my God, I love it. Poll question for today: did the way the Patriots lost make you feel better? All right, and you guys are out there voting. Your choices are yes, can't stop laughing. I'm still laughing right now. Can't stop laughing, and no. The leader with 92% of the vote is yes, it made me feel better. I can't stop laughing. So go vote right now. All right, very good. So the Heat, by the way, I can't take I got a hard time, even though I should, I'm acknowledging it. I got a hard time taking the macro point of view with the Dolphins, which is they're going to win their final 3 games. They're going to make the playoffs, and it's still a really great season. But the micro view is more of what I'm focused on right now because I'm a fan, and the Dolphins have lost 3 in a row. Even though they played well enough to win on Saturday, I'm frustrated because if they played that way the previous 2 games, I mean, we'd be sitting here 10-4, right? It had been a 7-game win streak, and then it was snapped on Saturday night in Buffalo. I can't complain about the snowballs, the ice balls. Listen, that's home field advantage, all right? You know, the Bills fan was complaining about the heat, the weather. Hey, we held up a lot better in the cold than they did in the heat. But the snowballs, the ice balls, and all that, are the Bills fans scumbags? Of course. Of course. But I'm not sitting here complaining about that. That's home field advantage. That's what's going to happen. You got weather like that. You got all the snow. You got scumbag Bills fans are going to take advantage of it. You got to play through it. I mean, they're scumbags. What are you going to do about it? I'm not going to sit here and complain about it, all right? That's what comes along with the home field advantage. You know, if that game was here and the game in Buffalo was the beginning of the season, they wouldn't have been able to do that. And we wouldn't have been able to take advantage of the weather. So it is what it is. I can't complain about it. The officiating, look, there was a grounding call where it should have been illegal touching, right? Where he threw it at the lineman. I don't know why that wasn't grounding or illegal touching. Take your pick. There certainly was the one play, I think it was Tyreek Hill, certainly looked like pass interference. I don't know that I necessarily agree with the pass interference call late in the game on Kader Kohu, but I feel like the Bills got away with a little bit more than the Dolphins did. I'm not going to sit here and complain about it, though, because the Dolphins were up by 8 in the 4th quarter. You got to stop them. Got to stop them. And you had multiple chances to stop them. So I can't get crazy about the extracurricular stuff. The Dolphins played well enough to win the game. They couldn't pull it off. Their quarterback made more plays than our quarterback, especially down the stretch. And again, for the 2nd week in a row, I think the biggest play of the game, I think the game was lost on the last play of the first half where the defense gave up touchdowns. That was the biggest play to me each of the last 2 weeks. The Heat, though, next up for the Heat is tomorrow. They have Chicago. They are back home after a 4-0 road trip. I told you. 4-0 is what we're shooting for. You know, it's tough when you're an under 500 team to say, hey, let's go 4-0 on the road trip. If you're going to get back to 500 and then get over 500 for the first time this season, it's got to come on this trip. You got to take advantage, win all 4. And that's exactly what they did. They beat San Antonio Saturday 111-101. And you know what? I'm starting to feel better now because it's so hard to climb out of an under 500 hole. We're not in the early part of the season anymore. We're almost halfway through the season. 31 games in. 41's halfway. We're almost halfway through the season. Now they're over 500 for the first time. They have their longest winning streak of the season, 4 games. And I know the Heat are going to be a massive pain in the ass in the playoffs, whoever they wind up playing. The key is you got to get there. Well, now they're knocking on the door. Now they're right there. And we're not just talking about play-in situation. We're talking about actually getting into the top 6. Right now, the Heat are 7th. They're 1.5 back of number 6, New York. I mean, we feel like New York is going to hold up. So you're feeling a lot better about the Heat now because they're in a spot where they can get into the top 6. But also, Eric Spoelstra coached teams literally every year he's been the coach. I think this is his 15th year. Team gets better as the season goes on. So, yes, the Heat won 3 out of 4, all 4 wins on the road. 3 of the 4 were against teams under 500. Yep. You know what good teams do? And I'm not saying the Heat are a good team. But you know what good teams do? They beat the bad teams. And they just did that. And they won some close games which they have not done all season long, and then they won a game by double figures on Saturday night. So I'm feeling pretty good about the Heat right now. And also because, and it's not a coincidence that this win streak has come at the same time, the way the Heat were going to get better this year was going to be from internal improvement. And with Bam, what he has done during this stretch, Tyler, what he has done during this stretch, that's the internal improvement we're talking about. I'm starting to feel better about the Heat. I'm starting to feel better. The Panthers are back in action tonight. They are in Boston. They beat the Bruins a couple weeks ago, 5-2, kicked their ass here in Sunrise. That was the best win of the season before the win on Saturday night, where the Panthers were in Jersey and beat the Devils. Devils are awesome this year. The Panthers, a great win on Saturday night at the Devils. Now, can they follow it with a win at the Bruins? My expectations are super low. You know what? With the murder of fun behind the bench, Paul Maurice, my expectations are super low. I'm not sure what Barkov's status. Dirty play by one of the guys with the Devils on Saturday night who cross-checked Barkov's knee, essentially. In a face-off, he checked him in the knee, and then Barkov couldn't play the rest of the game. So the Panthers, they still get the win 4-2. Bobrovsky was very good. He's been very good of late. The Panthers right now still find themselves, they're 2 points back of the second wildcard spot. 3 points back of the second wildcard spot. And I'll tell you, top three in the division, it's pretty much done. We're only 32 games into the season. They're 7 points back. With 2 games in hand, with the Lightning having 2 games in hand. 7 points back. They have no chance of top three in the division. They just can't. So it's going to be wild card or bust, and they're 3 points back of the second wild card spot right now. Tonight would be a huge statement as to whether or not this Panther team is actually getting back on track. So I'm very into this game tonight. Come on. 7 o'clock. Panthers, Bruins. Bruins best team in hockey right now. 24-4-2. One of those 4, though, is the Panthers. So, again, I don't know what Barkov's status is for tonight. Hopefully that's, tonight's a big test of the Panthers. Can you keep this thing going?